full as usual. We always enhance our services. Have to do that. Well, good morning, everyone. It's so nice to see you here today. Welcome to UUCCN, the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Central Nassau. It is good to see you. I am Anita Gatsby-Paddington, and I serve on the Board of Trustees. Today's service will be led by Garnet Losak. She is joined by Michael Sansonilla, a musical director, on the piano, and a religious education teacher, Ashley Davis. Garnet Losak is the recently retired director of Congregational Life at the First Unitarian Congregational Society of Brooklyn, where she was responsible for membership. We'll have to talk. And leadership development. Garnet also works with the staff team and ministry on worship planning, pastoral care, and faith formation. She has 2 grown children, Joseph, 31, who currently lives in South Sudan, and Katie, 36, a nurse who lives with her husband and adorable children, Simon, Micah, and Rowan, in Plattsburgh, New York. Since retirement, Garnet has had more time for yoga and bridge, her favorite thing. Thank you for coming. If you are new here, please know that this is a welcoming congregation, a special community that supports one another on our spiritual journey. We are people worshiping together from many paths who are brave, curious, compassionate, thinkers, and doers. We are here to help one another do the difficult work of seeking meaning, acting for justice, living with integrity, and walking with one another in peace and love. We hope that this hour set apart from daily concerns will renew your spirits, strengthen our love for one another, and embolden us to bring reconciliation wherever we find division. It is good to be together.
Let's join together in the spirit of prayer. These are difficult times, my friends. We are bombarded day after day with new fears for our democracy, the health of our planet, and the safety of people in our own community and those beyond our own. We pray for all of the protesters, the demonstrators, the activists, who put faith into action every day, sometimes at risk for their own lives. For some, this is a faith born of a belief in God as a guiding force. For others, it is a faith in the inherent goodness of the human spirit. We pray for the people of Ukraine, Sudan, Gaza, Iran, and the many more, too many more, war-torn countries of the world. We pray for the Democratic Republic of Congo and for all of the hungry, the homeless, and the sick of body or spirit. We are thankful for this community and others like it, of all faiths, that bring people together to mourn and celebrate, to organize, and to resist. Let us be together this morning in our shared faith, whatever its source, to covenant that every person is inherently worthy and has the right to flourish with dignity, love, and compassion. Amen, and let it be so.
Good morning. My name is John Golicki. I'm happy to serve on the Finance Committee here at UUCCN. For our chalice lighting, the light of this chalice shines on the truth that exists in our world. These are hard truths. These are difficult realities. And yet we are a people dedicated to justice on a foundation of love. We will go forward leaning into and learning the truth. We will not fear our hidden history. We must be willing to take risks. We are in this together. Let us live into our covenant and honor the light that is within us. For our land acknowledgement, we are here on the ancestral lands of America, We are here on Turtle Island to be caretakers, to gather in a good way, to be one with Earth's children in all of their forms, those of the straight lands, mountains and valleys, those of the rivers, streams, and oceans, and air and the sky above us. Let this land acknowledgement guide us in our return to unity. Let us remember that we are relatives to all beings, those who walk on four legs, those who fly close to the Creator, those who swim in the ponds and seas and crawl all over the earth, all of the mammal people, the living green creatures that give us shade and food, the spirit energy in stones, boulders, and earth's crevices, and all of the created world. Let us live in harmony, practice kindness, and share our love for one another. And now if you'll join me for our opening song, number 38 of the hymnals, Morning of Earth. And I ask you to please rise your body and spirit.
That little intro you can find in Quick. Morning has broken like the first morning. Blackbird has spoken like the first bird. Praise for the singing, praise for the morning, praise for the evening, fresh from the morning. Sweet the rain's blue fall, so never leaving, like the first dew fall on the first breath. Praise for the sweetness of the wet garden, spring completeness where God's feet pass. Mine is the sunlight, mine is the morning, born of the warm light, in the soul play. Praise with elation, praise every morning, God's recreation of the new day.
We have a wonderful tradition at UUCCN. Every Sunday we light a candle for world peace. And this was started by our beloved, dearly departed minister, Reverend Dr. Hope Johnson. I know some of our guests today know you, Hope. These are words from Malala, the Pakistani activist and the youngest ever recipient of the Nobel Peace Prize. If you want to end war, then instead of sending guns, send books. Instead of sending tanks, send pens. Instead of sending soldiers, send teachers. I ask you now to join us in our affirmation of our shared Unitarian Universalist values, which you could find as responsive. It looks like it's in two places in the order of service. It's both in the middle at the end, and it's the same thing. So either one you want to read. And I'll start it, and then you'll read the lines in italics. Love is at the heart of our values.
We promise to live our values every day with love at the center of all things.
Equity is the value of our inclusive community.
We believe in the inherent worthiness of all.
Interdependence teaches us we are all connected.
We will only be made whole when we live as co-inhabitants of the world.
Justice is essential for peace and building a beloved community.
We will work to dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and in our institutions.
Generosity expresses compassion, gratitude, and hope.
We will offer our faith, ourselves, and our resources.
one?
No.
Okay. Sorry, it's been a while since I've done that.
Pluralism.
Pluralism encourages and respect for diverse beliefs.
And allows us to be curious as we learn from one another.
Transformation allows us to adapt to an ever-changing world.
We are evolving and growing. We are never perfect.
Thank you for the assist. So now's the time for our joys and concerns. Ours is a sharing community where our joys are amplified, and we're a caring community where our sorrows are lessened when we share them. We take this moment to reflect on our joys and sorrows and acknowledge the mutual support of our community. If you'd like to share a joy or concern this morning, you can either rise up and start speaking, or if you want to raise your hand, I can acknowledge you.
My joy is that my daughter Yvonne has come to visit me. She lives in Reston, Virginia, near Washington, D.C., and I don't get to see her that much. And she drove all the way from there to come visit me this weekend.
This is a season for graduations, and we've been to several, and we've got a couple more to go, and I think that's very joyful that kids are growing up from college, young adults, and I found it to be a joyful experience to go to these events.
Yes, I had a joyful experience last week. Of course, it was on a Sunday. Unfortunately, I couldn't be here. My great-granddaughter received her first Holy Communion, and it was quite an event. It was like a little wedding. But it was beautiful, and to see these children, all of them so joyful and having such a wonderful time. I'm just praying and hoping that their future will be filled with the same joys. Also, I had a lovely experience with my daughter. We never have a one-on-one, and I'm so sad. Leslie, how wonderful you have your daughter with you.
Yeah, it really is wonderful.
Isn't it marvelous? I know.
Yes.
I was with one of my girls during the week, and we just spent the whole afternoon shopping and having
Talking,
lunch.
catching up.
And it was catching up. Yeah, it was wonderful.
I'll share that I returned Thursday night from a week-long biking adventure with 4 of my siblings, my son, my nephew. We biked from Buffalo to Albany.
Wow.
And, it was really spectacular, and I'm still tired.
Wow, that's amazing.
Anyone else like to share this one? Well, let's say, may we remember those who have spoken, those they have named, and those we hold in silence in our hearts.
Here are a few announcements. Please join us following the service for Sweet Tooth. Sweet Tooth is what we call the conversation, fellowship, and sharing of food that follows Sunday service. If you'd like to help out, if you're Sweet Tooth, there's a sign-up sheet in the kitchen and you can speak with me. I know Leslie brings us banana bread, and it's wonderful. Thank you, Leslie, for the banana bread. The UUCCN Book Club will meet on May 28th at 8 p.m. on Zoom. The book is Social Change Now by Deepa Iyer. Check the weekly email update for the Zoom link. And to all members, I would like to remind you that pledges for this year should be paid up by the end of June, as we have started our new stewardship pledge campaign for the 2026-2027 season. One thing that makes UUN special is the volunteering of our members, helping with Sunday services, religious education, office work, cleanup, Sweet Tooth, and other tasks that are a way to give back to the community, to build relationships, and to find purpose. If you would like to help, please speak with the board member. And that is it for announcements. We will now have our offering and Thanksgiving. Thank you for your support. Your pledges, donations, and volunteering sustain our congregation as we are 100% dependent on our members, friends, and guests. Please give today when the ushers pass the collection plate, or you can use a credit card on our website, UUCCN.org. One of our traditions is to share our Sunday collection plate every Sunday with another organization whose work aligns with our values and principles. For the month of May, we support the National Indigenous Women's Resource Center. It is a Native-led nonprofit organization dedicated to ending violence against Native women and children. This organization provides national leadership in ending gender-based violence in tribal communities by lifting up the collective voices of grassroots advocates and offering culturally grounded resources, technical assistance and training, policy development to strengthen the tribal sovereignty. Our staff and board of directors consist of Native women from throughout the United States with extensive experience and commitment to ending violence against Native women and their children. Please help with this important work by giving today. And if you are sending in a check, please write share plate May on the memo line. Thank you again for everything you do for our congregation. It is very much appreciated and we're truly grateful.
Let's sing together. Number 86, Blessed Spirit of My Life.
Blessed Spirit of my life, give me strength through stress and strife. Help me live with dignity, let me know serenity. Fill me with a vision, clear my mind of fear and confusion. When my thoughts feel restlessly, let peace find a home in me. Spirit of great mystery, hear the still small voice in me. Help me live thy word is clear, as I comfort those in need. Fill me with compassion, be the source of my intuition. When life is done for me, let love be my legacy.
Thank you. I love that hymn. Oh my goodness.
Shelley Jackson, she also wrote We Laugh, We Cry.
Before I share this morning's meetings, I want to thank you for inviting me to join you today, and special thanks to John and to Michael, who were so helpful to me as I prepared this service. I have actually a special relationship with this congregation. Reverend Hope Johnson, who served here for many years, was the religious educator at my home congregation in Brooklyn when my children were Sunday school students. And she also co-officiated my husband's memorial service, so her memory is very, very dear to me. I also attended the memorial service here for my very dear friend John Richard in this sanctuary many years ago, so I'm very happy to be back with you this morning. So I actually have two readings today. The first is by James Luther Adams from his essay, The 5 Smooth Stones of Liberalism. He says, the word God, and these are Adams' quotation marks, they're in the text, the word God is so heavily laden with unacceptable connotations that it is for many people scarcely usable without confusion. It is therefore well for us to indicate briefly what the word signifies. Indeed, the word God may, in the present context, be replaced with the phrase, that which ultimately concerns humanity, or that in which we should place our confidence. The second reading is not a reading at all, but a paraphrase of wisdom from my mother, who said something after my first child was born that has stuck with me for more than 3 decades. She says, I struggle to believe in God until I think about the birth of children. Then I contemplate the infinite number of coincidences that have to happen for them to exist. One prehistoric creature doesn't make it out of the ocean. One migrant decides to stay home. One missed bus, and any number of us would not be here today. When I was in high school, a friend invited me to join her at her weekly youth group gathering at a local church. I grew up in Connecticut, and what was then known as Congregationalist Church, now the United Church of Christ in town, was quite typical of what you would expect in New England. White clapboard with a tall steeple that could be seen from any direction. The church was very much a town landmark, but I had never been inside. I grew up unchurched. My mother had been raised Episcopal, and my father was a secular and cultural Jew. In Connecticut in the 1960s and 70s, church attendance was not expected. In fact, growing up, I don't remember anyone talking much about being part of a faith community. So when my friend invited me to join her for a church event, I was surprised, perhaps a little intrigued, and more than willing to join her. I remember very little about the activities of the evening, but 2 things have stayed with me. First, this group of friends, many of whom were from neighboring towns, seemed to have a relationship that was based on a different set of criteria than what I was used to at my local high school. There was little or no interest in the topics that dominated discussion among my school friends: grades, sports, God forbid, cheerleading, or who was dating whom or current fashion. There was no gossip, and there was no meanness. The camaraderie seemed genuine and, most of all, kind. Second, the kids were very at home in the church building. At one point, we went into the sanctuary to meet with someone who I now think must have been the youth minister or the youth advisor. He was a hippie, or appeared to be one to me at the time, and my companions clearly adored him. I remember the easy relationship he had with the kids. And I remember being enchanted by how comfortable everyone felt in the church building. Up to then, my experience in a church sanctuary had been wearing white gloves and a hat on Easter Sunday and Christmas Eve in the rather stuffy Episcopal church that my mother preferred. In my years of working with newcomers to Unitarian Universalism, the concept that I found most often confuses people is non-creedal religion. The principles and the new shared values that replaced them 2 years ago are lovely, but to many newcomers, they don't provide the satisfactory guiding mysticism that they crave. Sometimes because, like me, they come from secular, unchurched families and feel as though something in their upbringing was missing, or because past religious experiences didn't speak to their spiritual needs. When questions come up, I turn to the Unitarian Universalist theologian James Luther Adams and his 1976 essay, The Five Smooth Stones of Liberalism. We heard a reading from that earlier. Adams uses the biblical story of David and Goliath as a metaphor for liberal faith. You may remember the story. I'm pretty sure they made it into a cartoon at some point. The shepherd boy David volunteers to battle the Philistine warrior Goliath. The Israelite king Saul offers David his armor, shield, and sword, but David throws it off and instead collects 5 smooth stones from the river. He loads one of the stones into his simple sling and fells the giant warrior with one shot to the forehead, the only place he is unprotected. The standard Judeo-Christian lesson from the story goes something like this. With courage and cleverness, and of course with God on one side, anyone, even a teenage shepherd, can overcome the forces of evil. But Adam provides us with another interpretation. David throws off King Saul's armor. Its heaviness weighs him down. He is unable to maneuver under its weight. The armor represents a faith without the freedom to move. After all, even Goliath's armor failed to protect him. Faith, in Adam's view and mine, should feel light. It should allow and encourage intellectual and spiritual transformation, one of our new shared values. Without the burden of armor, shield, and sword, David is free to do God's work. In Adam's essay, each of the 5 smooth stones in the biblical story represents a different feature of liberal faith. I used this essay to teach a biannual pathways class to membership, a biannual pathways to membership class at the Brooklyn congregation. Each stone is different and together holistically define liberal religion. But the first speaks to me more than the others, as in my opinion, it brings our non-creedal faith into clearer focus. In Adam's words, religious liberalism depends first on the principle that revelation is continuous. Meaning has not been finally captured. Nothing is complete, and thus nothing is exempt from criticism. Liberalism itself, as an actuality, is patient with this reality. Events of word, deed, and nature are not sealed. They point always beyond themselves. We are free, therefore, to shift, this is me speaking, end quote. We are free, therefore, to shift our beliefs throughout our lives as we gather new information, be it from personal experience, the arts, science, or inspiration. Belief in God, goddesses, gods, or no God is transient. You don't have to choose. Your only commitment is to be open to the journey and willing to walk side by side with those whose experience is different from yours. I didn't realize it at the time, but the experience I had at the White Clapper Church in Westport, Connecticut more than 50 years ago was a seminal moment in my spiritual journey. For the first time, I was exposed to congregational life as it is meant to be: kind, welcoming, non-judgmental. I can recall only a handful of specific events from my youth, but that one evening came back to me in full color many, many years later when I joined my congregation in Brooklyn. I sensed then that I had been denied something important, something needed, but I was unable to fulfill until I found it in Unitarian Universalism in my 40th year. And now, you'll have a chance to think about what revelations have brought you to this moment, at this time, in this congregation. Each of you will have it, I promise, right here, a piece of paper and at least one writing implement, and maybe I can get somebody to help me pass these out. That'd be great. You're going to draw a timeline. This is the timeline of your spiritual life. On the timeline, you're going to mark, so you're going to take a piece of paper, draw a line across the middle of it. On the timeline, you're going to mark 5 years, your fifth year of life. That's the earliest time when most of us have clear memories. 15 years, that's when most of us are at our most teenager-ish. 25 years, and halfway to your current age. and your current age. Obviously, if you're 25 years or younger, we'll stop there. So everybody got that? Timeline, 5, 15, 25, halfway to your current age and your current age. All right. So think about how you thought about God at each of these ages. You can use the James Luther Adams definition that I read earlier, or the definition that made sense to you at the time. You can use words, or pictures, or symbols, whatever works for you. Between these reflections, write or draw the experiences or revelations that caused you to change your image over time. Revelation comes in all forms, from the most mundane, an invitation from a friend to join a church youth group, for instance, to the most transcendent, a scientific discovery, a pilgrimage to a sacred site, the death of a loved one, or the birth of a child. Nothing is off the table. We'll take about 5 minutes to complete our timelines, and then we'll have a few minutes to share afterwards. And I will keep time, and I think Michael will serenade us a little bit while we work. about groups of 3 or maybe 4, and just take a couple of minutes to share. No requirement to share if you're not comfortable doing that, but just take a couple of minutes to do that.
Turned off the college program, and my stepfather, Dave's brother, was a member of the Unitarian because that was part of the church, and they introduced me to the Unitarian church. I didn't get to finish all in love with the values, I fell in love with everything she described from congregational church, how easy it was. Still very spiritual, and not so regimented as Catholic religion. So that's how I became a Unitarian. I was about 15 years old, and I've been Unitarian since.
I just found it now. I started out, of course, like, in between that 17, that's good for you. 15. I think around like the same feeling when I was 15. 25. Married, and by now I'm having a family and children, raising them in the same faith. However, there was always that little mystery of things that some have presence. Everything that is all right. And I never really quite the church things about somebody that needed and all that. So yeah, I met her here, and I feel like I found very peace.
What I said is that
And I realized now that's something
I started out at that.
Not with any real direction, just this is what you do, this is how it is. I had a great deal of church education as a child, but still never fit into what is this about? How does this relate? So by the time I got more older, by 15, I was less interested in any kind of organized religion. The other thing about my childhood that's interesting is all my book is Sicilian books.
Church.
Church was very much the center of the entire community. So I was also raised to I was Jewish, with a great deal of church. I still talk to saints, church people, all these things. I'm talking to St. Anthony. To this day, I'm good with all of this. I don't believe in but there's certain things with the Catholic Church that's still kind of very volunteer and strange as well, things like that. And as I got older, I started exploring why I really looked at fundamentals of Christianity for a while. And I never believed what they believed at all, but I found it fascinating, and it gave me the opportunity to really delve into the New Testament, which was very interesting to me. What I believe, I don't believe it was very interesting. Deep in my little heart, I come from Jewish riches from Ukraine. And I started to see that a little bit more clearly. And that's kind of where it landed. Now, people say, well, it's Jewish rich, and I don't know which is bad right now. I just, when you bought that food, I drew the line on that. I would have my friends were, I was like, no, I'm done. Well, that's where it comes next. Yes, it's really drew me in, and I'm embracing it because the equanimity, non-judgmental, she was loving, she was kind, she was working with,
I'm so happy that these conversations are lively, and I hate to interrupt them. But there will be time after the service and during fellowship to continue. So let's take just another minute to wrap up, and we'll finish.
really a bit. It's such a short time. I should wish I'd come with you. We're always like
And I found that it was sort of a good way to get started on this idea of Revelation being continuous throughout our lives. So the timelines that you created this morning are only a tiny illustration of the infinite number of inputs that reveal your truth as you understand it in this time and in this place. I hope you'll take some time to share more over coffee or tea following the service. The journey is never over. As long as there is breath, there is revelation. And now let's stand and sing together our final hymn, Over My Head. It's number 30 in your gray.
Yeah, so take a look at it. Take a look at it, and you see the words there. Most of you wouldn't be reading the music anyway, so just look at the words, and you see that the words are very repetitious. So you don't really need this hymnal, do you? You can put it down if you want. Now I'll have this over my head, I hear music in the air. Over my head, I hear music in the air. Over my head, I hear music in the air. There must be a God somewhere. And when it changes, I'll tell you what it changes to. So you can put down your hymnal and leave your hands unencumbered. And now that your hands are empty, you can go. I'll play through it once. must be God somewhere. I hear music over my head. I hear music in the air. Over my head. I hear music in the air. Over my head. I hear music in the air. There must be God somewhere. I hear music over my head. I hear music in the air. Over my head. I hear music in the air. Over my head. I hear music in the air. There must be God somewhere.
Thank you. Our final words today are from James Luther Adams. Whatever the destiny of our planet or of the individual life, a sustaining meaning is discernible and commanding in the here and now. Anyone who denies this denies there is anything worth taking seriously or even worth talking about. Every blade of grass, every work of art, every scientific endeavor, every striving for righteousness bears witness to this meaning. Thank you.
So you should know that for like about the past year or more, for this short closing song, I've been singing exactly the same thing. I was driving here this morning thinking, I want to sing something different today. And then I heard your opening prayer. Ain't broke, don't fix it. I can't enjoy the wet springtime skies when I'm gone. I can't comfort anyone who cries when I'm gone. I can't be seen louder than the lights when I'm gone. Come on. So I guess